chosen one, heaven has paused for you. The wind that once carried silence now carries the whisper of divine timing. Everything around you slows, not because life has stopped, but because heaven has leaned close. You have been waiting, longing, praying with trembling hands for a sign that your pain was not wasted. This is that sign. This is that moment when heaven interrupts time to tell you your waiting was not in vain. You are not overlooked. You are not forgotten. The very breath of God moves toward you even now. Every delay, every disappointment, every door that remained shut was not denial, it was preparation. The clock of heaven never runs late. When the Father chooses to move, nothing on earth or under the earth can resist his hand. And now, the hand that once held back is releasing the miracle you needed most. You feel it deep within your spirit, the stillness before breakthrough. It's that sacred hush when heaven gathers strength. When angels take position, when destiny inhales before it exhales favor, the ache in your chest is about to turn into the rhythm of victory. The weight on your shoulders is about to lift, not by your effort, but by divine intervention. Listen carefully. Chosen one, you are standing on holy ground. The pain you endured was the price of perspective. The wilderness you walked through was the classroom of faith. You are not the same person who began this journey. Your tears watered the very soil that now blooms with promise. The heavens have shifted. What once felt silent now trembles with divine sound. Every unanswered prayer is being revisited by angels. The Father did not say no. He said, "Not yet, but yet has arrived." You are not waiting anymore. The waiting has been waiting for you. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 31, "Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar like eagles." Right now, things are moving in your favor that you cannot see. You think you've been standing still, but heaven has been working behind the curtain. The moment you chose faith over fear, your name echoed in the corridors of heaven. Angels were assigned. Paths were cleared. What was stuck began to shift. Beloved, this message found you for a reason. It is not an accident. It is not the algorithm. It is divine alignment. Heaven pressed pause on everything around you so that you could hear these words: the waiting season is over. You are stepping into fulfillment. You are entering the hour of release. The miracle you've been praying for is already in motion. Take a deep breath. Feel the atmosphere changing around you. This is not imagination, it is impartation. The same God who parted the sea, who calmed the storm, who raised the dead, he moves now on your behalf. The impossible bows before his word. Your assignment now is simple: believe again, hope again, expect again. Heaven responds to expectation, not hesitation. You cannot step into the next chapter carrying the fear of the last one. Release it now. Lift your head. The oil of favor is pouring over you. This message is not to entertain you, it is to awaken you. Heaven's call is clear. Rise, my chosen one. The waiting has refined you. Now, favor will define you. You have been through fire. But the fire has not destroyed you, it has purified you. What once burned you will now bless you. What once broke you will now build you. If you can feel these words in your spirit, that's confirmation. The divine moment you prayed for has arrived. Heaven has authorized your miracle, and earth must now align with it. You will begin to see signs in the coming days, doors that open suddenly, peace that surpasses understanding, opportunities that once seemed unreachable. These are not coincidences, they are the fingerprints of God. Chosen one. You've waited long enough. Heaven says, move forward. Step into the flow of favor, the current of answered prayers. Lift your voice in faith and declare, my waiting season is over, because it is. Before you scroll, pause and seal this prophetic moment. If this word has stirred your spirit, show heaven your agreement. Like this message. Share it so that others may hear what God is doing in this hour. And subscribe to stay connected to every divine word that follows. Your engagement is not about numbers, it is about obedience. When you respond in faith, heaven responds in power. Now, as a prophetic act of faith, type this number in the comments, 777. It is the number of completion, the seal of divine fulfillment. By writing it, you declare, my waiting is complete. My miracle is here. The pause of heaven has ended. The motion of miracles has begun. You remember the weight you carried. Chosen one. The invisible burden that no one else saw. The nights when you smiled in daylight but bled in silence when the world went to sleep. The laughter you forced to hide the ache. The prayers you whispered when hope felt too fragile to hold. You carried dreams that seemed too heavy for one heart. Yet you never let go. You pressed forward. Even when your knees trembled beneath the unseen pressure of destiny. You carried more than pain. You carried purpose disguised as pain. The trials were not meant to break you, but to carve depth into your spirit. The loneliness was not punishment but purification, so that when the miracle came, your heart would be able to sustain it. Heaven trusted you with the kind of weight that would have crushed another. That's how God shows his confidence in his chosen ones, by allowing them to endure what others could not survive. There were days you questioned if God even saw you. You wondered, why me? Why this battle? Why this silence? But heaven was not ignoring you. Heaven was investing in you. Every unanswered prayer became a seed of faith. Every closed door forced you to discover another way. What you called waiting, heaven called weaving, a divine tapestry of strength, patience, and vision. You became the warrior you are not because life was kind, but because grace was consistent. You kept showing up. You kept believing. You kept forgiving. And though your hands shook, you still lifted them in worship. Though your heart ached, you still whispered, I trust you. Those moments built your spiritual authority. They made you dangerous to darkness, because you learned to praise even in pain. Chosen one. Your scars are not shameful, they are sacred. Each one tells heaven's story of survival, of divine endurance. You are not weak for feeling weary. You are strong because you never quit. You carried promises that seemed to die. Yet even in the graveyard of dreams, you believed resurrection was possible. That faith, that relentless, unshakable faith has brought you here, to the edge of fulfillment. Remember, God never wastes suffering. The same hands that allowed the weight now use it to anchor your blessing. The tears that fell in secret watered the soil of your next season. You thought you were buried, but you were actually being planted. The difference is this: what is buried dies, but what is planted rises again with increase. You have been planted, not buried. Heaven watched as you pressed through every season of loss, disappointment, and betrayal. Knowing this moment would come, the unveiling of purpose behind the pain. Everything you carried was shaping you into the vessel heaven could now fill. The weight was not random, it was rehearsal for glory. As the psalmist reminds us through the writings of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 4, "Even though I walk through the valley of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." You walked through valleys that others avoided, yet you emerged still standing. You carried shadows but never let them consume your light. The reason you didn't collapse was because divine strength held you when your strength failed. You may have walked through the valley, but you never walked alone. Now look closely. Those same valleys that once caused you to weep will soon become testimonies that make others believe again. The places where you stumbled will be the very ground from which new faith grows. You carried burdens so that others could later walk free. That is the mark of the chosen. Their pain becomes another's pathway. There were moments you thought the weight would crush you, but instead, it forged you. Like gold refined in fire, you emerged with a brilliance that only pressure could produce. The breaking was necessary to release the fragrance of your anointing. Without the crushing, the oil would remain hidden. Heaven knew that before you could carry the miracle, you had to learn how to carry the weight. Now, as you look back, you see it differently. The tears were not wasted. They became the ink with which God wrote your testimony. The waiting was not punishment, it was calibration. The rejection was redirection. Everything that hurt you was secretly helping you. The weight you carried was never a sign of abandonment, it was evidence of calling. Heaven entrusts great burdens to those destined for great breakthroughs. You survived what was meant to destroy you, and that survival has qualified you for the glory that follows. Breathe now. Chosen one. The weight is lifting. The purpose behind the pain is being revealed. You will soon understand why it had to be you, why it had to take this long, and why no one else could carry it the way you did. When heaven reveals the full picture, you will fall to your knees in awe, not of how strong you were, but of how faithful God was. The weight that once seemed unbearable will become your testimony of unbreakable grace. Chosen one. The testing of your soul was never random. Every storm that rose against you was divinely permitted, not to destroy you, but to reveal what could not be shaken. The enemy tried to convince you that your suffering was a sign of rejection, but in truth, it was a signal of refinement. Heaven knew that in order to trust you with miracles, it first had to test you with mystery. There were moments when you prayed and the sky seemed closed, when your faith felt heavy and your hope dimmed. You wondered if God had turned his face from you. But even in silence, heaven was watching. God was teaching you how to stand when nothing made sense, how to worship without proof, how to believe without sight. That is the essence of faith. And you learned it well. The furnace of affliction was your classroom, and though the lessons burned, they produced endurance. Your trials taught you spiritual intelligence, how to discern between delay and denial, between temptation and transformation. Each season of testing stretched your capacity to carry glory. The deeper the pain, the greater the power now forming inside you. You see, God never tests to learn about you. He already knows you. He tests to reveal you, to show heaven, earth, and even hell what he has placed within you. The testing exposes the counterfeit and proves the authentic. The faith you now hold is not theory, it has been tried in fire. There were days you wanted to quit. You said, "Lord, I can't take one more disappointment." But you did. You endured the betrayal, the rejection, the loneliness, and though you stumbled, you never abandoned your post. Heaven took note. Every time you stayed faithful in the storm, you were promoted in the spirit realm. You didn't lose ground, you gained rank. As the Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 10, I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind, to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve. This testing was never about humiliation, it was about revelation. God searched your heart and found integrity when no one else was watching. You resisted bitterness when you could have chosen revenge. You stayed humble when pride would have felt easier. These unseen victories matter more than public applause, because they prove your loyalty to heaven's throne. The refining season also taught you surrender. It stripped away illusions of control and forced you to trust the unseen hand guiding your path. You learned to say, "Even if you don't move how I expect, I will still trust you." That is the cry that shakes the heavens. That is the language of the chosen one. The test was not punishment. It was proof that you were chosen for something greater. Every battle you faced was confirmation of your assignment. Darkness does not attack what it does not fear. The warfare surrounding your life was evidence that your light terrified hell itself. You may not have realized it, but even in your lowest moment, heaven was cheering you on. Angels surrounded you when you felt abandoned. The Holy Spirit whispered when no one else spoke life. You were never alone in the testing, you were simply hidden for transformation. Now, as this season concludes, the results of your obedience are being revealed. The same areas where you suffered are about to shine. The people who misunderstood you will soon see that your silence was strength. You passed the test not because you were perfect, but because you refused to quit. Heaven honors endurance. The purpose of testing is always elevation. Just as gold must be refined to display its purity, your faith had to endure pressure to manifest its brilliance. You are stepping into a season where what was once tested will now be trusted. God will place in your hands the very things you once prayed for, and you will handle them with humility because the testing has shaped your heart. Every lesson you learned in pain will now empower others in purpose. That's how heaven multiplies wisdom through the testimony of the tested. When you speak now, your words will carry weight because they were birthed in the fire of experience. You won't just inspire, you'll impart strength. Chosen one, the testing is ending, and the reward is near. What once felt like delay was divine design. You've been refined, not rejected. The same fire that tried to consume you has now crowned you. Now, pause for a moment. Reflect on how far you've come. You are no longer the one who entered the storm. You are the one who walked through it and came out carrying revelation. That's power. That's growth. That's divine maturity. If this word resonates in your spirit, declare your agreement in a single act of faith. Type the words, "I'm still here," in the comments. This simple declaration is not for the world to see, it's for heaven to witness. It tells God, no matter what I faced, I endured. I remained faithful. That confession activates divine recognition, aligning your heart with the victory already written for you. The testing has done its work. The refining is complete. Now, you rise. Chosen one, Every delay you faced was not a denial, it was a divine appointment in disguise. You thought God was silent, but heaven was synchronizing events behind the scenes. Every detour, every pause, every closed door was not the enemy's victory, it was God's strategy. Divine timing is never late, and though you could not see it, everything was aligning perfectly for the unveiling of your miracle. When you cried out asking, "Lord, why is it taking so long?" heaven answered not with words, but with movement. There are realms you could not see, angels repositioning, hearts being prepared, opportunities being crafted. Heaven had to move pieces on the chessboard of destiny before placing your promise in your hands. God doesn't rush what He intends to last. You see, there are blessings that require timing, not talent. There are doors that only open when your character is mature enough to walk through them without pride. You were not waiting for the miracle was waiting for you to become who you are now. Divine alignment is precise. Heaven knows the exact moment when everything must converge: your readiness, the right people, the right environment, and the perfect opportunity. What seemed like divine silence was actually the sound of heaven arranging your destiny. There were moments you tried to force outcomes, tried to make things happen by your own strength, and every time it failed, you thought it was because you weren't enough. But no, chosen one, it failed because it wasn't time. The promise must meet the season. What is premature can perish. What is divinely timed cannot be stopped. Sometimes God delays because He loves you too much to give you what you're not ready to sustain. The waiting season taught you how to discern His voice, how to let go of what looked good but wasn't God, how to trust His pace instead of your impatience. Heaven doesn't measure time like humans do, it measures readiness. As was spoken in the sacred texts of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, "To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven." This ancient truth still echoes through eternity. There is a time for sowing, and a time for reaping, a time to weep, and a time to dance, a time to be hidden, and a time to be revealed. You are standing now at the intersection where divine purpose meets appointed time. Everything you endured was preparing you for this alignment. Think of the people who walked away. Think of the opportunities that slipped through your fingers. At the time, they felt like loss, but now, you see, they were divine protection. Heaven closed doors not to deprive you, but to direct you. You were being positioned for something that required your full focus and purified heart. Had things worked out earlier, you might have settled too soon. You might have accepted comfort instead of calling. But now, after the refining, you see clearly. You no longer chase what glitters, you wait for what's golden. That shift in your spirit was the purpose of the delay. Chosen one. Alignment requires patience. The seed must stay buried before it breaks through the soil. The seed doesn't question the darkness, it trusts the process. And you, too, have learned to trust. That trust is your passport to breakthrough. Heaven doesn't forget what it promised. It fulfills every word in its perfect hour. The divine appointment that once felt far away is already unfolding. You are stepping into rooms that your prayers built long before your feet arrive. The people you are about to meet have been prepared to recognize your anointing. The opportunities that come will fit your spirit, not just your skill. This is the beauty of God's timing. It feels sudden, but it was planned from the beginning. What takes years in your eyes takes only a divine breath in his. Every minute of waiting will now make sense when the promise manifests. You will look back and say, "If it had come sooner, I would not have been ready." Let this truth settle deep within you. Nothing was wasted. The delays were disguised deliverance. Every pause protected you from premature exposure, from counterfeit opportunities, from misaligned relationships. You were being hidden not because you were forgotten, but because you were being perfected. Chosen one, your divine appointment is here. The calendar of heaven has turned in your favor. What once felt like stagnation was actually acceleration in the unseen realm. Now the visible world catches up to what heaven has already declared. Your time has come. Do not rush it. Do not fear it. Simply walk in it. Every step you take from this moment forward will feel guided, because it is. You are walking in synchronization with the rhythm of heaven itself. Chosen one, you stood at the breaking point, the thin line where hope and despair wrestled for your breath. You came so close to giving up, so close to walking away, and yet something inside you refused to die. That spark, that holy whisper said, "Hold on," and though you did not know it then, that was the moment heaven began to move. The breaking point was never your ending. It was the threshold of your breakthrough. You see, when the potter's clay is shaped, there comes a moment when pressure feels unbearable. The potter presses harder, not to destroy the clay, but to perfect its form. You were that clay, spinning on the wheel of destiny, feeling crushed under the weight of uncertainty. But God's hands never left you. Even when it felt like you were breaking, He was molding. Sometimes the miracle is hidden inside the moment that almost breaks you. The same place where you cried, "Lord, I can't," became the birthplace of, "Lord, you can." That surrender, whispered through tears, shifted everything. Heaven does not move at the sound of pride, but at the sound of surrender, as heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 8. "The Lord Himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. You were never alone in your breaking. The presence of God stood beside you in the dark, whispering promises into your pain. Even when you couldn't hear Him, He was guiding your every step. That is why the darkness could not swallow you. It was never stronger than the light within you. Beloved, your breakthrough was not delayed, it was developing. Think of a seed buried in the earth. To the outside eye, it looks lifeless. But under the surface, in the silence, it's breaking open, pushing through soil, reaching toward light. That's what happened to you. You broke open to bloom. Every heartbreak was pruning. Every disappointment trimmed away what could not remain. You were being refined for something greater. And now, as dawn rises over your life, the first rays of promise illuminate the truth. You survived the breaking because the breakthrough was already written in your story. Now, as this divine moment unfolds, I ask you to pause and reflect. Has this message stirred something deep within you, something sacred, something alive? If so, let that feeling move you into action. Like this message as a sign that you receive what heaven is saying. Share it, not as a routine click, but as a prophetic act, like planting a seed of light in someone else's darkness. When you share what uplifts you, you become a carrier of hope. You never know whose midnight your small gesture might illuminate. Subscribe if your spirit feels drawn to stay connected to these divine words. This space isn't just a channel, it's a table where heaven serves strength for weary hearts. By staying connected, you're choosing to remain in the flow of encouragement and revelation that heaven is releasing in this generation. And if your heart feels moved to give, to donate, do it, not out of obligation, but out of gratitude. Think of it like pouring water back into the well that refreshed you. Every drop sustains the message that once found you in your wilderness. It ensures that light continues to reach those still searching in silence. Your giving becomes a ripple of compassion in a vast ocean of need. When you support what breathes life into your spirit, you partner with heaven's work. You are not just sowing money, you are sowing mercy, strength, and salvation into souls who might otherwise give up. Your generosity writes chapters in stories you may never see, but heaven records every one. And if you have nothing material to give, do not feel less than. Give your prayer, give your faith, give your time to speak words of hope to someone else. Every act of kindness, seen or unseen, becomes currency in heaven's economy. Chosen one, never forget this truth. What feels like breaking is often birthing. You did not come this far just to collapse. You came this far to cross over. The very pressure that once made you tremble has now become your proof you were built to withstand storms because you were born to calm them. The night was long, but the dawn has arrived. You will look back one day and realize that the breaking point was your doorway. You will see that God was never late. He was waiting for the exact second when everything within and around you aligned with His promise. Hold your head high. You are the living evidence of grace that does not fail. What was once breaking you is now blessing you. What once crushed you has crowned you. And what once felt like the end has become the divine beginning. Chosen one, heaven has shifted. Something invisible has been commanded to move in your favor. There are moments in time when the spiritual realm trembles, when angelic forces, long assigned but long restrained, receive their orders to act. This is one of those moments. The unseen is now stirring because God has spoken concerning you. You may not feel it yet, but all of heaven is in motion. The prayers you once thought were lost have become coordinates in the Spirit, guiding angels straight to your location. Every word you've whispered in faith is now an instruction released into the divine atmosphere. Heaven does not forget, it fulfills. There are angels assigned to you, messengers who have been waiting for this command. They are not just symbolic, they are real, moving through realms you cannot see, dismantling obstacles you could never move on your own. What felt delayed is suddenly being accelerated. Because heaven's order has been issued, go now and deliver what belongs to my chosen. As the Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Hebrews, chapter 1, verse 14, are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation? You are one of those inheritors. Heaven has recognized your endurance, your loyalty, your faith that did not falter when others lost theirs. And now, ministering spirits are dispatched, not to comfort you only, but to deliver. They bring answers to long-standing prayers. They rearrange what once seemed impossible. You've felt the resistance in your life, the heaviness, the unseen opposition, the sudden distractions that rise when you start to pray. Those were signs of warfare, not abandonment. Darkness always trembles before divine reinforcement arrives. The battle intensified because heaven was about to intervene. Right now, angels are moving into your circumstances. Some carry healing, Others carry restoration, and others bring divine favor that opens doors no human hand could touch. You will sense peace in places where fear once dwelled. You will notice sudden clarity where confusion used to reign. That is not coincidence, it's confirmation that heaven has shifted the atmosphere around you. Chosen one, this is your angelic hour. For years, you felt surrounded by chaos, but now you are surrounded by covenant. Heaven has drawn a circle of protection around you. The things that once tormented your mind are losing their power, because heaven's army has taken its stand. Understand this: angels are not to be worshipped, they are to be acknowledged as evidence of God's faithfulness. They move at His word, and His word has been released over your life. When you speak in alignment with His promises, you give them the language of authority. Every declaration of faith becomes a trumpet that summons reinforcement. You've been sensing change. Your dreams feel different. Your spirit feels lighter. Your environment seems to pulse with unseen energy. That's not your imagination, it's divine proximity. The supernatural realm is brushing against your reality. When heaven draws near, everything hidden begins to manifest, and everything bound begins to break. Some of the things that once resisted you will now release easily. Contracts will shift. Relationships will align. Finances will flow. The barriers that seemed unbreakable will suddenly crumble, because angelic hands are pushing where you could not reach. Do not be surprised when peace floods your heart at unexpected times. That peace is not random, it is the presence of heaven. Angels often bring calm before they bring completion. They settle the atmosphere so that manifestation can unfold without interference. Chosen one, this is not imagination. This is fulfillment. God has heard you, and He has answered not through words alone, but through movement. The supernatural realm has opened, and you stand beneath a downpour of divine assistance. This is the moment to align your words with heaven's decree. Speak life, not lack. Declare faith, not fear. Every sentence you utter in belief becomes a command that empowers the unseen to work on your behalf. You are not powerless, you are partnered with heaven itself. Pause for a moment now. Feel that stirring in your chest, that warmth, that calm assurance. That is the evidence of divine presence. You are not imagining it, you are encountering it. Heaven has drawn near to confirm that help has arrived. Chosen one, heaven is not delayed, it's deliberate. And today, it delivers. The waiting season is over. You are entering the hour of divine acceleration, where what took years will happen in days. If your spirit feels this truth, mark this moment as sacred. Comment this number in faith, 444. This number symbolizes divine protection, angelic presence, and alignment with God's perfect order. When you write it, you're not typing digits, you're declaring agreement. You're saying, I am aligned with heaven's movement. I receive the ministry sent to my life. Heaven has released your help. The unseen is now seen. The invisible now acts. And your miracle begins to take form before your very eyes. Chosen one, the voice that calls you out has never stopped speaking, even in silence. It was whispering between the heartbeats of your pain. You thought you were walking alone, but heaven was speaking through every delay, every detour, every unanswered question. The voice of God has always known how to find you, even when you no longer knew how to find Him. When your world went quiet, When prayers felt unanswered, His word still traveled through the corridors of your spirit. It didn't shout, it summoned. It called your name in a tone that no human language can reproduce. You didn't hear it with your ears, you felt it with your soul. That unexplainable pull, that sudden stirring to rise again, that was Him. God's voice rarely comes with thunder. Sometimes it arrives in the softest conviction. It doesn't demand, it draws. It reminds you of who you were before pain tried to rename you. The voice that called Lazarus from the tomb is the same voice calling you out now from despair, from fear, from the labels that life tried to attach to you. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 27, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." That is the intimacy you were born for, to recognize His tone even among the noise. You have been hearing His whisper all along, not as a sound, but as a knowing. Every time you said, "Something tells me," it wasn't something, it was someone. The shepherd has been guiding your steps, steering you through storms you didn't even know how to name. There were moments when His voice came through disruption, a door that closed abruptly, a friendship that ended suddenly, an opportunity that vanished without warning. You thought it was loss, but it was actually direction. God often removes what blocks your hearing before revealing what He's saying. His silence wasn't rejection, it was redirection. And when He finally spoke again, perhaps through a verse that wouldn't leave your heart, or a dream that refused to fade, or a message that felt written only for you, you felt it. A deep recognition, a trembling in your spirit, as if heaven itself whispered. You were never forgotten. The voice of God calls you by name, not by your wounds. He doesn't call you broken, unworthy, or forgotten. He calls you beloved, chosen, mine. His words carry creation power. They don't just inform, they transform. When He speaks, things inside you rearrange. Confusion untangles, fear dissolves, clarity emerges. You begin to remember who you were before life's noise tried to drown you out. Sometimes His call doesn't lead you out of the storm, it leads you through it. Because what He's developing in you cannot grow in comfort. You've been learning to distinguish His voice in chaos so that when peace comes, you'll never mistake another's voice for His again. Chosen one. Remember the first time you truly felt seen by God. Maybe it was during a worship song, a quiet prayer, or a night of tears that turned into stillness. That same voice that met you there has not gone silent. It's calling again, this time, not to console you, but to commission you. The waiting season shaped your hearing. Now, heaven calls you to walk in what you've heard. He's calling you out of limitation, out of fear of rejection, out of guilt that never belonged to you. The chains that kept you still are cracking because His word travels like light. It pierces darkness without asking permission. His call does not need a stage or microphone. It needs only a heart willing to say, "Speak, Lord, I am listening." There are moments when the voice calls and the world doesn't understand. People may misread your silence, your distance, your focus, but heaven knows you're tuning your ear. You're separating signal from static. You're learning that peace is not the absence of sound, but the presence of the right sound, His sound. When you follow His call, you begin to step into alignment with your divine design. Every move starts to make sense. Every past no becomes a holy not yet. The voice does not simply lead you forward, it leads you home. Chosen one. The same voice that hovered over chaos and said, "Let there be light," is speaking over your life right now. It calls order out of confusion. It commands hope out of ruin. It speaks identity over your uncertainty. The question is no longer, is he speaking? The question is, will you answer? Answer not with words, but with obedience. Let your next step be your yes. Heaven is waiting for that movement. The voice that calls you is not trying to impress you, it's trying to awaken you. The moment you respond, everything dormant within you begins to rise. You were never lost. You were being located. And now, you are being called not to repeat who you were, but to reveal who you've become. The voice of the shepherd still knows your name. Follow it, and you'll find that every step from this point forward leads closer to the promise. Chosen one. What you prayed for has already begun to move. The miracle you waited for is not a distant dream, it's unfolding even now. Quietly, steadily, faithfully. The moment heaven spoke your name into its divine calendar, everything in creation started rearranging itself to make room for what belongs to you. The delay was only in your sight, never in God's plan. Miracles rarely arrive with fanfare. They begin in the hidden, like dawn that starts as a faint light before the world notices. You may not yet see the full picture, but something in your spirit already knows something has shifted. The atmosphere feels different, lighter. It's not imagination, it's the first tremor of manifestation. Heaven never sends half blessings. When God moves, he completes what he begins. What you've been sensing lately, the moments of unexpected peace, the sudden favor, the strange alignment of events are not random. They are threads in a divine tapestry being revealed, one thread at a time. You are living through the in-between, the space between promise and fulfillment, seed and harvest, prayer and proof. As the ancient words recorded in Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Even what once seemed wasted is being woven into your miracle. Every setback, every no, every heartbreak was not subtraction, but redirection. Heaven never subtracts without the intention to multiply. You thought you were losing time, but God was buying time, protecting you from things that would have harmed what he was preparing. The miracle in motion doesn't always look miraculous at first. Sometimes it looks ordinary, a small message, a chance encounter, an open door that feels too simple to be supernatural. But heaven hides greatness in simplicity. When the miraculous begins to move, it dresses itself in the familiar so that only those with faith recognize it. You are one of those who see beyond the surface. Look closely at your life right now. The people being drawn to you, the opportunities appearing, the sudden clarity of mind, all are signs of divine coordination. What once felt chaotic is falling into order. The puzzle pieces are finding their places, and you are standing in the center of God's unfolding masterpiece. Do you remember when you thought your prayers went unanswered? They didn't. They were maturing, like fruit that cannot be plucked too early. Your petitions were ripening in heaven's timing. Had you received what you asked for too soon, it might have broken you. But now, you are ready not just to receive, but to sustain what's coming. Every miracle has motion. It begins invisibly. travels silently and manifests suddenly. You are in the invisible stage, where faith is your sight. The seed is already breaking open beneath the soil. Just because you cannot see it doesn't mean it isn't happening. The breaking is proof of blooming. Chosen one, your waiting has become movement. Your prayers have become manifestation. Heaven is honoring every tear you've sown in faith. You are about to witness answers that will leave you speechless, not because God finally heard you, but because He had been answering all along in ways you couldn't yet perceive. Imagine a river under ice. On the surface, everything looks frozen, lifeless. But underneath, the water never stopped flowing. That's how God's plan has moved through your life, hidden, consistent, unstoppable. And when the appointed season arrives, the ice melts, and what was concealed bursts into view. That melting is happening now. The miracle is not coming, it's converging. It's gathering momentum. You are standing at the center of answered prayer, though it may not look like it yet. Soon, what was once a whisper will become a witness. You will see doors open, not because you pushed, but because heaven ordered them to. You will see restoration not because you demanded it, but because grace demanded your victory. You will know the miracle has arrived, not when life looks perfect, but when peace returns to your heart. That's the true mark of fulfillment, peace that no circumstance can shake. It is not a peace that waits for proof. It is peace that produces proof. You carry that peace now, whether you feel it fully or not. Chosen one, the miracle is not outside of you, it's around you, within you, and moving through you. You are part of its process. Your faith has magnetized heaven's movement. You have not missed your moment. You are walking inside it. So continue to move forward with quiet confidence. What's meant for you is in motion, and it will find you at the exact place and moment heaven has appointed. The miracle doesn't need your striving, it only needs your readiness. The wind is already shifting, the signs already forming, the story already changing. You don't have to force what is divinely unfolding. Simply remain open, remain faithful, and watch, because what you prayed for is already happening. Chosen one, what was once spoken over your life is now revealing itself in signs too precise to ignore. You are walking through days that feel strangely familiar because your spirit recognizes what heaven already showed you long ago. The confirmation you've been waiting for is not coming through thunder, it's coming through patterns, alignments, divine coincidences that can no longer be called coincidence. You've been sensing it, the shift in timing, the sudden peace where there once was anxiety, the unexpected encounter that feels too purposeful to be random. These are not accidents. They are heaven's coded messages. Proof that the prophecy over your life is no longer pending, it is performing. Every time you questioned whether God remembered you, heaven answered not in words but in movements. Every delay, every redirection, was a conversation between your destiny and God's timing. And now, the two have met. The signs are beginning to speak louder than your doubts. Remember how Joseph once dreamed of honor and then found himself in a pit? It wasn't failure, it was fulfillment in disguise. Sometimes the signs of promotion come wrapped in pain. The very things that made you weep were preparing you to recognize the reality you're stepping into now. We are reminded through the writings of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision awaits its time, it speaks truth and will not fail though it linger. Wait for it. That appointed time is here. What once lingered has arrived. The revelation you carried in faith is now standing before you in form. Heaven is confirming its word not just through emotion, but through evidence. You're seeing things align without your effort, people reaching out unexpectedly, opportunities resurfacing, moments that remind you of prayers you thought you'd forgotten. These are heaven's fingerprints. When God fulfills his promises, he leaves traces, small reminders that his hand has been guiding the whole way. You might notice the same verse repeating through different voices, or a dream recurring with deeper clarity, or a door opening just when you whispered, "Lord, if it's you, make it clear." These aren't coincidences, they're divine confirmations. When confirmation comes, it carries peace, not pressure. The enemy pushes, God positions. You don't need to chase what's already assigned to find you. The confirmation signs don't demand striving, they invite surrender. Heaven's plans unfold naturally when your heart is aligned. Chosen one, pay attention. The smallest details around you carry divine messages. Heaven doesn't always shout, sometimes it echoes. That song that suddenly stirs tears. That stranger's kind word. That sense of déjà vu. They are heaven's gentle affirmations. You are exactly where you need to be. This is how God reassures the faithful, not with dramatic gestures, but with perfect timing. When something repeats, when peace follows a decision, when a way opens effortlessly, it's heaven confirming alignment. The miracle isn't coming, it's already unfolding. And heaven is giving you signs to recognize it. Don't let fear distort what faith has revealed. You've learned to trust the still voice over the loud noise. You've learned to recognize the divine rhythm beneath life's chaos. That discernment is the result of every wilderness you endured. Now it's guiding you through the season of fulfillment. The signs are not random, they are relational. They remind you that you are seen, known, and led. Heaven communicates with its chosen not through coincidence, but through covenant. Everything that once confused you now confirms you. Everything that once delayed you now defines you. As these confirmations unfold, let them strengthen your confidence. Don't shrink back out of false humility. Stand tall in quiet gratitude. You've been prepared for this. Heaven does not confirm what it hasn't already equipped. The signs don't just announce arrival, they affirm readiness. Chosen one. This is your moment of divine affirmation. The same God who whispered in the waiting now speaks through the unfolding. The same Spirit that guided your patience now guides your manifestation. Look around, heaven is answering visibly. And now, take a small step of faith to seal what heaven has already begun. Type the words, "I see it," in the comments. Let this not be routine, but revelation. It's not about visibility, it's about acknowledgement. When you declare those words, you're not typing into a screen, you're testifying before heaven. You're saying, "I recognize the signs. I trust the process. I know the promise is here." That simple confession becomes alignment. It unites your faith with heaven's fulfillment. As you speak it, peace will settle over you, because acknowledgement invites acceleration. The signs are no longer subtle, they are sacred. You're not waiting for proof anymore, you are walking inside it. Heaven's confirmations surround you, and your spirit knows the appointed time has come. Chosen one. The wind of restoration is moving softly, steadily, purposefully. You can feel it brushing against the corners of your life, whispering of renewal and return. What you once thought was lost is not gone. It is merely waiting for heaven's appointed hour to reappear in better form. Every broken moment, every stolen year, every unanswered prayer is being gathered by the hand of grace. Nothing is wasted in the kingdom. Restoration is not merely about getting back what was taken, it's about receiving what was transformed. When God restores, He doesn't rewind time, He redeems it. He doesn't give you the same thing you lost, He gives you something matured by mercy. The pain that once broke you becomes the soil that grows your blessing. As the prophet spoke in the words of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 7, "Instead of shame, you will receive a double portion. You will rejoice in your inheritance, everlasting joy yours." This is heaven's decree over you, double portion. The very places where you wept will now overflow with joy. The same soil that bore your tears will bloom with peace. You are stepping into compensation that cannot be measured in money, fame, or applause. It is measured in joy restored, peace revived, and strength renewed. Restoration often comes quietly, like dawn creeping over the horizon. It doesn't shout, it reveals. At first, you may not notice how much lighter the air feels, how easily laughter finds you again. But one day soon, you'll look around and realize that what once was broken has been rebuilt into something stronger, more beautiful, more divine. Think of a tapestry. When viewed up close, the threads appear chaotic, twisted, tangled, meaningless. But when you step back, you see the picture, the purpose behind the weaving. That's your story. Chosen one. The season of tearing has given way to the season of weaving, and heaven is finishing what once felt undone. God has been behind the scenes, rebuilding what was fractured. He's restoring your confidence, mending relationships, reviving purpose, and renewing your mind. You are not the same person who cried for restoration years ago. You are wiser now. Softer where you were once hard. Stronger where you were once afraid. Restoration is not about returning to who you were. It's about becoming who you were meant to be all along. Chosen one. Let this truth settle deep within you. Your losses were lessons in disguise. Every ending was an edit. Every silence, a setup. Every disappointment, a detour. What you called ruin, heaven called reconstruction. God never leaves His building half-finished. The same hands that broke the walls down are now rebuilding them with gold. As restoration unfolds, let gratitude flow through you like breath. Gratitude turns the ashes of the past into incense that heaven delights in. When you are thankful, even for what hurt, you disarm the darkness that tried to use pain against you. Gratitude shifts the narrative. It takes what was meant to destroy and turns it into a testimony. And if these words are reaching you, stirring something holy inside you, then let your response become part of the restoration. Like this message as a quiet offering of agreement. Each click, each gesture, each acknowledgement is like lighting a candle in the temple of your spirit, saying, "Yes, Lord, I receive this restoration." Share this message, not out of habit, but out of compassion. Someone else is standing where you once stood, tired, unsure, waiting for a sign that God still rebuilds. When you share light, you become a vessel through which heaven reaches another soul. The ripple begins with you. Subscribe if this flow of divine words has watered your heart. Think of it not as following, but as walking together, a caravan of souls traveling through the desert toward the same promise. By staying connected, you remain near the sound of living water that refreshes and revives. And if your heart feels stirred to donate, do it with gentleness and joy. Giving is not about transaction, it's about participation. You're joining the circle of restoration, helping carry the message that once carried you. Every contribution, no matter how small, becomes a brushstroke in heaven's portrait of redemption. Your generosity keeps the flow alive, allowing this message of renewal to find others who are still wandering through the ruins of their own stories. You become part of the miracle by sustaining the voice that once found you in the wilderness. Chosen one. Restoration is no longer a promise, it's a process in motion. You're walking through it, breathing it, becoming it. The broken pieces are fitting together. The faded colors are returning to brilliance. And your soul is remembering the sound of joy. Heaven restores not in part, but in full. The tide is turning. The double portion is coming. And this time, it will last. Chosen one. The doors that once refused to open are beginning to move. The hinges of destiny are creaking again, slowly at first, then with unstoppable strength. What was locked to you in the past is unlocking now. Not because you pushed harder, but because heaven whispered. Now you have waited at thresholds before knocking, praying, wondering if you would ever be invited through. You stood in front of opportunities that looked perfect but remained sealed. You wondered if maybe you were unworthy, or if God had forgotten your name. But those closed doors were never rejection, they were preservation. They stayed shut, not to withhold blessing, but to withhold heartbreak. Now the appointed doors are opening. You no longer need to beg to enter what already bears your name. The places you once had to strive for are now calling you in. Heaven has released the clearance, and the locks are turning in your favor. What could not move before is responding now to the sound of divine timing. There is a unique stillness that comes before breakthrough, a calm before the sound of new beginnings. You can sense it in your spirit. It's not anxiety, it's awareness. Your soul knows the door is about to swing open, and part of you trembles at the thought of stepping into a space you've only dreamed of. But do not fear the opening. Chosen one, you were born to walk through it. As we are reminded in the words of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8, See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. Heaven acknowledges your endurance. You held your ground when the world mocked your faith. You stayed loyal when it would have been easier to quit. You passed the tests that couldn't be graded by men, but were celebrated by angels. And now, heaven has placed before you a door that no hand can close. This door is not just opportunity, it's transformation. When you step through, you will not only change your surroundings will reveal who you've become. Every trial you endured shaped you for this threshold. Every lonely night strengthened the muscles of your spirit to handle what waits on the other side. Doors in the natural are made of wood and hinges. Doors in the spirit are made of obedience and timing. When you align your will with heaven's command, the hinges of the impossible begin to move. That's why this moment feels different. You're not forcing this one open, it's opening to meet you. Some of these doors are opportunities long forgotten. Projects once shelved will resurface. People who once overlooked you will remember your name. Ideas that seemed too bold will now find favor. It's not because the world has changed, it's because the atmosphere around you has. Heaven has declared permission. The winds that were against you are now behind you, propelling you forward. The same gates that denied you entry will open at your arrival, because you carry the authority of endurance. You are no longer a seeker, you are an inheritor. You do not knock in desperation, you approach in destiny. Still, remember this, not every door that opens is yours, and not every invitation is divine. The enemy imitates opportunity to distract the faithful. That is why discernment is your key. Before you enter, listen for peace. The doors designed by God will welcome you with stillness, not striving. They will expand your purpose, not shrink your spirit. You will know it's the right door when it requires faith, not fear. When it stretches you, but doesn't suffocate you. When it confirms what heaven already whispered in the quiet hours of your becoming. Those are the doors you were meant to walk through, those that lead not to applause, but to assignment. Chosen one, as you approach these openings, walk with reverence. Every step you take into the new will echo across generations. What you enter now will outlive you. The blessings ahead are not fleeting, they are foundations for those who follow. You have become a door yourself, a passage through which others will find their way to hope. The sound of unlocking has already begun. You can feel it, the hum of expectancy, the pulse of purpose rising in your chest. Heaven is calling you forward, not as a guest, but as an heir. The gate that once resisted you is opening wide because it recognizes your authority. Walk through with courage. Don't look back at the hallway of hesitation. Step boldly into the chamber of fulfillment. The air is different, there, lighter, clearer, filled with promise. Every step will feel like both an ending and a beginning, because that's exactly what it is. You are crossing from waiting into walking, from hoping into having. The door is open, chosen one, and once you pass through, you will never return the same. Chosen one. The air around you hums with abundance. You can sense it, something larger than logic, something brighter than circumstance. You have stepped into the overflow season, the time when heaven pours not by measure but by mercy. The drought is over. The clouds that once carried only silence are now heavy with rain. You have sown in tears, and the field of your obedience is beginning to bloom. This is the moment when your seed transforms into sustenance. What you gave in faith, your time, your love, your persistence is returning multiplied. You are not merely entering blessing, you are embodying it. Those who encounter you will feel the fragrance of favor on your life. As it is written in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 10, "Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it." Heaven is not stingy. Chosen one, the floodgates are open. You will soon find yourself overwhelmed, not by struggle, but by goodness. It will come through unexpected sources, people you never imagined blessing you. Opportunities that seem too perfect to be planned. Sudden peace in places that once felt chaotic. The abundance of heaven does not just fill, it overflows. Yet this season is not about possessions, it's about position. God is positioning you as a vessel, not a reservoir. What He pours into you is meant to flow through you. The overflow is not designed for hoarding, it's designed for healing. You become a channel through which divine generosity touches the earth. You have carried lack long enough to recognize the miracle of enough. You have known empty cupboards, empty hearts, empty hope, and because of that, you will steward abundance with gratitude. You will not waste what you once wept for. This is why heaven trusts you with overflow. Now, you have learned that blessing is sacred responsibility. In the days ahead, you'll notice divine exchanges. Areas that were barren will begin to produce. Conversations that once ended in disappointment will lead to destiny. The places you once avoided out of fear will become platforms of fulfillment. You are moving from striving to receiving. Heaven's rhythm is now your rhythm. Overflow doesn't mean you will never face challenge again. It means you will never face it empty again. Every resource you need, whether strength, wisdom, or provision, will be provided at the exact moment you need it. The oil will not run out. The jar will not go dry. The same grace that sustained you in lack will sustain you in plenty. Chosen one, there will be moments when you'll want to shrink back, to feel unworthy of such abundance. But understand this: you are not receiving it because of perfection, but because of purpose. Heaven's generosity is not a reward, it's an empowerment. You are being equipped to carry light into darker spaces. When the blessing multiplies, humility must deepen. Let gratitude become your posture and integrity, your anchor. Do not measure your worth by what overflows from your hands, but by what overflows from your heart. Keep your eyes on the giver, not the gift. The miracle is not that you have abundance, the miracle is that you have peace in it. Think of a cup placed under a fountain. The cup doesn't worry about overflow, it simply remains open. That's your assignment now, to stay open. Don't close off your heart in fear of losing. Don't limit your expectations out of old disappointments. Keep your spirit tilted upward, trusting that heaven knows exactly how much you can hold and when to pour again. You are living proof that patience pays off. The waiting didn't weaken you, it widened your capacity. The time of trickles is gone, the floodgates are open. What's coming will not just meet your needs, it will exceed them. And now, chosen one, as a prophetic act of alignment, mark this moment in faith. Comment the number 888 below. This number symbolizes new beginnings, divine abundance, and the endless flow of grace. When you write it, see it not as digits on a screen, but as your declaration: I receive the overflow. I live in divine abundance. Let heaven see your agreement. Let the unseen realm hear your confidence. The overflow season has begun, and you are standing in its center. You have crossed the threshold where lack ends and legacy begins. What flows into your life from this point forward will not stop with you, it will bless those connected to you. You are both recipient and river, chosen to carry heaven's generosity into the earth. The storehouse of heaven is open, and your name is written on its release. Abundance has found you, chosen one. A new mantle is resting upon your shoulders. You can feel its weight, not a burden, but a holy gravity. This is the mantle of glory, the visible sign of the invisible favor that heaven has placed upon your life. It is the evidence of everything you've endured, everything you've learned, everything that refined you when no one was watching. This is not the same anointing you once carried. This is deeper, heavier, wiser. It comes with the fragrance of experience, the sound of surrender, the radiance of resilience. You have been through fires that burned away pretense and left only purpose. Now, the light within you is too powerful to remain hidden. A mantle is not merely a covering, it's a calling. It signifies authority in the spirit realm, a visible sign of divine appointment. When Elijah's mantle fell upon Elisha, it wasn't just fabric that touched him, it was fire, legacy, and responsibility. In the same way, heaven's mantle has now been placed on you. It carries not only favor but function. You are being sent, not as who you were, but as who you've become. The prophet's words echo still in the sacred record of Isaiah. Chapter 60, verse 1, Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. You are not waiting for the light, you are wearing it. The glory that now surrounds you is not borrowed, it's birthed. Every hidden moment of prayer, every act of obedience no one saw, every time you forgave when it hurt, those were the building blocks of this mantle. Glory is not granted cheaply. It is the result of endurance wrapped in grace. When heaven clothes someone in glory, it changes everything: how you see yourself, how others perceive you, and how the world responds to you. The mantle doesn't make you better than others, it makes you more responsible for them. Glory is weight because it carries souls, not status. This new anointing will draw attention, both divine and human. Some will recognize the radiance and rejoice with you. Others will misunderstand it, fearing what they cannot explain. But do not hide the light to make others comfortable. You were not crowned to blend in. The same God who anointed you will guard you. The same Spirit that rested on you will lead you. This mantle is multi-layered. It carries wisdom for leadership, peace for conflict, and power for breakthrough. It is both armor and invitation: armor to protect you in warfare, and invitation to walk boldly in new dimensions of purpose. You will find that what once intimidated you now yields to your voice. Heaven has authorized your command. Do not confuse humility with hesitation. True humility is not shrinking back. It is moving forward while knowing the strength comes from God alone. The mantle rests best on those who know they cannot carry it without Him. That's why you were chosen, because your dependence has become your strength. Chosen one. The glory upon you will begin to manifest in subtle yet undeniable ways. Words that once carried encouragement will now carry power. When you speak, atmosphere will shift. When you pray, hearts will awaken. When you step into rooms, peace will enter with you. You are no longer just present, you are positioned. The mantle also marks a change in how you fight your battles. You no longer strive the way you used to. You've learned that glory doesn't wrestle, it radiates. Darkness cannot negotiate with light. It must retreat. That's what this mantle does. It transforms you into a beacon, a carrier of divine presence that disrupts oppression without even speaking. Guard this mantle with purity. Protect it with obedience. Feed it with worship. The glory upon you must be stewarded carefully, for it's not meant to impress, it's meant to impact. The power of God on your life is not for display, it's for deliverance. You are now a vessel through which others will experience breakthrough. There will be moments when you'll feel the tension of responsibility that comes with favor. The same glory that elevates also consecrates it, separates you from what no longer aligns. Don't resist that separation. The higher you go, the clearer your calling must become. Some connections were for your building season, but not for your revealing season. The mantle has changed your language, your vision, your rhythm. You no longer walk as the wounded, you walk as the witness. Every scar has turned into oil. Every pain has become power. Every unanswered question has turned into wisdom that will guide nations of hearts. Chosen one, lift your head. You carry the light of heaven now, a flame that will not flicker in the wind. The mantle upon you is a covenant between you and your Creator, a visible sign that the waiting was worth it. The warfare was necessary, and the reward is divine. You are not who you were before this moment. You are clothed in glory, crowned in purpose, and commissioned in love. Heaven has dressed you for destiny, and the world will soon see what God has always seen, the radiance of a soul anointed for such a time as this. Chosen one, the time has come for your rising to be witnessed. The very eyes that watched you struggle will now see you stand. Those who dismissed your dreams will be forced to acknowledge what God has done in you. This is not vindication born of pride, but revelation born of purpose. Heaven is about to display what it built in secret. Every wilderness season, every tear, every private test, they were all rehearsals for this unveiling. You were hidden for a reason. God was preparing you in silence so that when the moment arrived, there would be no doubt that it was His hand, not man's favor, that lifted you. The time of invisibility was not punishment, it was protection. You were being preserved for purity, so that when your name began to echo, your heart would still remain humble. You are now entering a season of public evidence. The glory that once hovered unseen around you is becoming visible. Your words will carry weight, your presence will shift atmospheres, not because you are seeking attention, but because you carry a dimension of heaven that cannot be ignored. What once rejected you will now make room for you. We see this truth reflected in the story told in Psalm, chapter 26, verse 12. My feet stand on level ground. In the great congregation I will praise the Lord. This is your level ground. Chosen one, the place where stability replaces struggle, where you can finally stand without trembling. You no longer fight for footing, you walk in it. The ground beneath you has been leveled by grace. Every valley you endured has become the foundation of your new elevation. There will be witnesses, some familiar, some unexpected. They will not just see your success, they will see your sanctification. They will recognize the strength it took to remain kind, the faith it took to stay pure, the love it took to keep believing. Your rise will not provoke envy in the pure-hearted, it will provoke worship. People will see your life and say, surely, the Lord has done this. When light finally reveals what has been hidden, there's a holy stillness in the air. You will feel it soon, the sacred pause before the unveiling. The deep awareness that this moment isn't just about achievement, but assignment. Heaven is not elevating you for recognition, it's positioning you for influence. Your story will become a key that unlocks the faith of others who thought their time had passed. Those who once misunderstood you will begin to see what you carried all along. They will realize that your silence was not weakness, but wisdom, that your retreat was not retreating, but refining. You were being set apart, not set aside. Now, as heaven brings you into visibility, your life will testify to a generation that faith still works, that obedience still pays off, that surrender still leads to glory. This unveiling will not require striving. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Your fruit will speak for you. Just as a tree does not shout to announce its fruit, neither will you. The harvest itself is the announcement. Every result, every breakthrough, every door that opens will declare, God was faithful. But be mindful. Chosen one, visibility brings responsibility. The higher you are lifted, the deeper your roots must remain in humility. Let your success become your sermon, your kindness, your crown, your integrity, your armor. When the applause comes, let it bounce upward, back to heaven where it belongs. You are not the source of light, you are the reflection. The witnesses of your rise will come from unexpected places. Some will be those who hurt you, others those who helped you. Both will serve the same purpose, to confirm that what God ordains, no one can overturn. The very ones who said you were finished will watch the glory unfold. And in that watching, they too will find redemption. Your rise will not only bless you, it will awaken others. You are a signal to those still buried in their own waiting seasons. Your success will whisper to them, keep believing. If God did it for me, He will do it for you. That's why this moment matters beyond you. It's bigger than your name, your dream, your story. It's heaven writing hope across the earth through your example. Chosen one, you were not created for obscurity. You were crafted for impact. You will not have to fight for a platform. The world itself will become one. Everywhere you go, heaven will amplify your voice. Not for vanity, but for victory. The witnesses will gather, not because you sought attention, but because glory attracts recognition. And as they see you rise, they will not just see success, they will see the Savior reflected through your life. This is the season of unveiling. You no longer walk hidden among shadows. The light of God rests upon you. And every step you take declares the truth, what God builds in silence, He reveals in strength. Chosen one, you've reached the turning point where miracles become missions. The blessing that once felt like the destination has revealed itself as the beginning. What God has poured into your life is not meant to stop with you, it's meant to flow through you. This is the call to greater purpose. You have climbed the mountain of waiting, endured the valley of testing, and stood beneath the rain of restoration. Now heaven calls you higher to become not just a receiver, but a revealer of divine goodness. This is where your testimony turns into transformation for others. The Spirit whispers through the ancient words of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father. Your light, chosen one, was never meant to remain hidden under fear or false humility. You were shaped in silence so that your life could shine in seasons like this. The same hands that lifted you now send you forth to be a torch, a lighthouse, a reminder that hope still burns in human form. Purpose is never about personal comfort. It's about divine commission. You are being called to impact lives, to speak words that heal, to act with kindness that restores faith, to carry presence that changes rooms without needing to announce itself. You are now heaven's messenger, wrapped in human skin. Think of yourself as a lamp filled with sacred oil. That oil, your faith, endurance. Love was costly. It came from crushed olives of pain and pressed grapes of patience. But now, the oil is pure, and the flame burns steadily. You are ready to shine in places that have forgotten what light feels like. Some people will find strength simply by watching you rise again. Others will find healing in your words, courage in your story, peace in your presence. That's what divine purpose looks like. It multiplies itself through everything you do. And in this moment, if these words stir something within you, if you feel that sacred pull toward your next chapter, then let your heart respond. Like this message as a simple act of agreement. See it as lighting a small lantern on the path of your calling. Each act of response says to heaven, I am ready to be used. It is not about numbers, it's about willingness. Share this word if it has touched your spirit. Somewhere, someone sits at the edge of surrender, wondering if God still has a plan for them. Your share may be the spark that reignites their faith. Think of it like passing the flame. What warmed your heart might light another's world. Subscribe to stay connected. Not as an audience, but as a movement. This space is more than a voice, it's a table of restoration. A place where souls find strength. By staying connected, you keep yourself close to the well that refreshes. You remain part of a family of believers who are walking the same road toward destiny. And if your spirit feels led, consider sowing into this mission, donating, giving, or supporting in whatever way you can. Not out of pressure, but out of participation. Giving is not losing, it's echoing. It's your way of saying, I believe in what this message does for others. You're helping send light further into homes, hearts, and nations still waiting for the sound of hope. When you support what blesses you, you are watering the soil that once revived you. Every seed you sow keeps the light burning for another weary soul, and heaven records it not as charity, but as covenant. But above all, chosen one, take a moment to leave your mark in the comments. Write what this word awakened in you. Maybe just one sentence, maybe just a prayer, but let your voice join the river of testimonies. Words have weight in the spirit, and your comment might be the confirmation someone else is praying for. This is not the end of your journey, it's the expansion of it. The purpose that once felt like a distant dream is now a living fire inside you. It will not let you return to ordinary life, because you were not made for ordinary impact. You are called to carry heaven into human spaces, to be peace where there is panic, to be light where there is loss, to be love where there is loneliness. You are not here to blend in. You are here to break patterns, to be the answer you once prayed for. So, chosen one, take this moment seriously. The miracle was never meant to end with your deliverance. It was designed to begin with your obedience. Heaven has entrusted you with more than blessings. It has entrusted you with purpose. Walk into it boldly. Speak from it fearlessly. Live from it faithfully. You are not a survivor anymore. You are a steward of glory. And the world is waiting for what heaven has placed inside you. Chosen one. There is a sacred stillness in the air, a holy invitation to remember the covenant that brought you this far. Before the final unveiling, heaven calls you to pause, to breathe, to realign. The journey has been long. The battles have been fierce. Yet, through it all, one truth remains constant: God never left you. This section is not about arrival, it's about remembrance. It's about returning to the vow that first ignited your faith. A covenant is more than a promise. It's a partnership sealed in divine intention. It is the eternal handshake between human fragility and divine faithfulness. You entered this covenant long before you even realized it. Every yes whispered in pain, every surrender spoken through tears, every act of obedience when no one was watching, all were signatures on heaven's scroll confirming your belonging. Now, as the dust settles around you and the noise of accomplishment fades, heaven leans close and whispers, "Remember me." Remember the moments when strength failed and grace carried you. Remember the nights when silence answered louder than sound. Remember that every blessing you now hold came from a love that never required your perfection, only your willingness. As it is written in Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 9, "Know that the Lord your God is faithful, keeping his covenant of love to 1,000 generations. The covenant stands, eternal and unbroken. God has never forgotten his side of it. And now he invites you to renew yours. This renewal is not about guilt or fear, it's about intimacy. It's about acknowledging that your success, your peace, your survival, all flow from the same sacred source. There were moments when you doubted the covenant, when the pain screamed louder than the promise. You wondered if heaven still remembered your name. But even in your questioning, God's faithfulness remained unmoved. The covenant is not cancelled by confusion, it's deepened by dependence. You could not walk away because love wouldn't let you. Chosen one, this moment is holy. Heaven doesn't ask you to perform, it asks you to pause, to look back not in regret, but in reverence, to trace the fingerprints of God across the pages of your past. You'll see them everywhere, guiding, correcting, protecting. Even the detours were divine routes, leading you back to the covenant's center relationship. Renewing your covenant doesn't mean starting over, it means stepping deeper. It means saying, "Lord, you can trust me again." It means letting go of what was built from fear and embracing what is birthed from faith. It means returning to that childlike wonder that once made you believe all things were possible. You have grown wiser, yes, but heaven still treasures the innocence of your first surrender. The purity of your yes still echoes in the throne room. Now, with more understanding and deeper scars, your yes carries more weight than ever before. It's no longer naive, it's rooted, it's been tested, and it still stands. Renewal is not always loud. Sometimes it's a silent nod between you and heaven, a recognition that through all that has changed, one thing remains untouched: your connection to the divine. That's why you're still here. That's why your spirit hasn't given up. The covenant has been your unseen anchor. The Lord is calling you into deeper trust. You've proven faith in the waiting, obedience in the breaking, and gratitude in the blessing. Now comes consecration, the stage where you give back what He gave you. It's not loss, it's loop. The covenant is circular, what He gives returns to Him through your surrendered hands. And in that cycle, new life flows continuously. Think of it like the tide. The sea gives and receives endlessly, but it never loses itself. The rhythm of waves mirrors the rhythm of your walk with God, coming, going, giving, receiving. Every rise and retreat renews the shore. So it is with you. Chosen one, renewal is not a single moment, it's a continual motion. The covenant asks for remembrance, but it rewards with revelation. As you recommit your heart, new clarity will come. You'll begin to see patterns in your journey you couldn't recognize before, the symmetry of divine design, the beauty in what once felt broken. God never wastes anything in covenant. Even your mistakes become materials for miracles. So now, as heaven watches, close your eyes and remember. Feel the weight of grace that carried you here. Whisper your own words, words of trust, surrender, gratitude. Heaven doesn't need eloquence, it needs honesty. Say it in your heart, if not aloud, Lord, I still choose you. The covenant is alive. It beats in your chest with every breath of belief. It's written not on stone tablets, but on your spirit. And as you renew it now, heaven records once more faithful, found, chosen. This renewal marks not the end of your story, but the beginning of your legacy. For those who keep covenant are not forgotten, they become eternal echoes of faith that ripple through generations. Chosen one, the covenant stands unbroken, and so do you. Chosen one, this is where the journey gathers into glory. Every step you've taken, every tear that fell unseen, every quiet victory of faith, they all lead here. The air feels different now, as though creation itself is holding its breath. You stand at the culmination of all that was promised, the point where pain transforms into praise and the unseen becomes undeniable. This is not an ending. This is revelation. The purpose of every trial was never to destroy you, but to display you, to reveal what could only be formed through fire. The miracle was not just what you received, but what you became. The waiting made you wise. The warfare made you strong. The weeping made you pure. And now, as heaven's light rests upon you, everything makes sense. You can finally see the thread of grace that ran through every fragment of your story. It was always there, weaving chaos into clarity, transforming heartbreak into holiness. As it is written in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17, for our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. You feel the truth of that now. The weight of your suffering has been exchanged for the weight of glory. What once felt unbearable now feels redemptive. The scales have shifted, and all that once seemed unfair now reveals its purpose to prepare you for this very moment. Glory doesn't arrive as a spotlight, it arrives as awareness. It's the quiet realization that you are no longer who you were, that the same storms which once terrified you now testify for you. You survived what others thought would end you, and in surviving, you became something unshakable. The glory revealed is not just around you, it is within you. It pulses in your words, your choices, your peace. It's in how you forgive quicker now, how you love deeper, how you no longer rush ahead of God, but walk in rhythm with His timing. Glory is the fruit of transformation, not the crown of achievement. Chosen one. Look at your hands. They once trembled under the weight of fear. Now they carry the imprint of purpose. Look at your heart. It once bled from betrayal. Now it beats with mercy. Look at your spirit. It once wandered in uncertainty. Now it stands anchored in divine assurance. This is the glory of the refined, the beauty that can only be born from brokenness surrendered to God. And as you stand in this holy unveiling, heaven mirrors your reflection. You see not the weary traveler, but the warrior robed in light. The same angels who watched your struggle now celebrate your endurance. The same spirit that sustained you in shadows now radiates through you in brilliance. You are no longer merely chosen, you are crowned. This crown is not made of gold or jewels, but of endurance, humility, and unwavering faith. It sits upon your spirit, invisible yet undeniable. You carry it into every space you enter, and darkness recognizes its authority. The world may not understand the glow around you, but heaven does. It's the mark of fulfillment. You will notice, in the coming days, a quiet change in how you move. You'll no longer feel the need to explain your process. You'll no longer apologize for your light. Glory doesn't need permission, it simply shines. You've stepped beyond striving into serenity. The struggle was temporary, but the transformation is eternal. This is the final shift from surviving to reigning, from wondering to witnessing. The same God who promised has performed, and what you now carry will become the legacy of your life. You are not only a receiver of miracles, you are a living miracle. Glory has a sound, it's the silence after surrender, the heartbeat of peace that hums beneath the noise of the world. You will hear it often now, in moments of stillness, when you realize that everything you lost was simply making room for what could not be taken from you. Chosen one. The glory revealed is not a moment to keep, it is a light to carry. Wherever you go, this radiance will travel with you. It will comfort the weary, convict the wandering, and call the lost back to faith. That's what true glory does. It multiplies itself through love. You have crossed from shadow into sunrise. The horizon before you glows with promise, not because the path is easy, but because the one who walks it with you is faithful. The waiting, the weeping, the warfare, all of it was worth it, because it led to this revelation, renewal, and rest. Lift your gaze. Chosen one, you've become the evidence of divine endurance. Heaven's story is written across your life in lines of light. You were never abandoned, you were being authored. Now the author signs his name across your heart, and it reads simply, finished in glory. The journey continues beyond this page, but not as before. You no longer walk searching for proof, you are the proof. You no longer chase the promise, you carry it. The glory of God is alive in you, and it will never fade. Chosen one, you've reached the end of this divine message. But the end is only the beginning of something sacred. You have walked through fire, waited through silence, and stood beneath the downpour of promise. Now, as you step forward, clothed in light and crowned with peace, remember, you were never simply a listener. You were the reason heaven spoke. This moment is holy ground. Take a breath and let gratitude rise. Everything that once confused you now makes sense. Every valley was a classroom. Every battle, a baptism. Every silence, a seed of revelation. You are living proof that grace still works, that faith still moves mountains, that light always wins. If this message has reached deep places within you, pause and let your heart respond. Like this message as an act of thanksgiving, not to a person, but to the presence that found you. Share it not as promotion, but as prophecy. Someone, somewhere, is standing in the same storm you just survived, and your share might become their lifeline. Subscribe, not merely to stay informed, but to stay connected, to remain near the stream where heaven's words continue to flow. Here, every story strengthens faith. Every message renews courage. You belong in this circle of light, this community of believers who still dare to hope. And finally, write your thoughts below. Comment what this journey has awakened in you, just a few words of reflection, a sentence of praise, or a prayer of surrender. Your testimony will echo beyond the screen, carrying light to hearts you may never meet. Heaven is not finished with you. Chosen one, the miracle continues every time you believe, every time you give, every time you shine. Walk forward in peace, for the same God who called you here will carry you home.